Hello from the small window on your screen. This is Adam Turteltaub from the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics. And joining us today from a hot and humid London is Jane Mitchell. Jane will be leading a 3-hour pre-conference workshop on the topic of humanity as a key to embedding an ethical culture. Jane, we hear a lot of talk when it comes to tone at the top about sort of conventional compliance and ethics. You're taking a very different tack here. Can you explain a bit about what your vision is?
Yes, it's an interesting point that you raised there, Adam, because for me it's about the hidden messages in the way that organizations are communicating. So in your opening setup, you talked about compliance and ethics. Very often, of course, that sets the tone for how the organization is considering and thinking about ethics at work, which is first follow the rules, then think about the ethics. And they draw a very clear distinction between the two. So even in a very simple shift of language from compliance and ethics to ethics and compliance, an organization can send a signal, as long as we understand what ethics is, of course, and therein lies the massive debate. They're sending a signal that they're thinking behaviors and human beings first and rules possibly second, or the two of them working together. The fact that organizations issue code books that consist of rules does not actually endear themselves to people in the organization in order for people to take responsibility themselves for how they live out values. Rules won't tell them what to do. So the more we have compliance, the less we have people thinking about their behaviors and their values. For me, it's a balance between the two.
So in some ways, it's about a sense of creating more personal ownership for these things.
I think it is. And to your point about leaders, if they are issuing rules and saying, okay, guys, off you go, this is the way that we do things around here, and then they behave in a completely different way, any normal adult will look at these adults thinking, okay, so how is that working exactly?
Right. There's no what's good for the goose should be good for the gander, basically.
Yeah, indeed. And
exactly.
You know, if we think about how we are with our families and with our friends, we don't sit down and work out a rule book in terms of how we engage in our social lives. If we were to do that, the chances are we wouldn't have too many friends. Why is it that we feel that we have to do that at work and everything will be just fine and dandy? It doesn't follow.
So what are some of the key takeaways, specific things attendees at your workshop will be getting from the session?
Yeah, I'm hoping that people will go away with some simple tools and techniques. There is no magic wand, but I'm hoping that they will go with some thoughts for themselves about how they can take more of themselves to work without compromising the level of high performance that the organization delivers. In fact, probably doing the opposite. Unlocking more of it, better performance. So thinking about the way that they make decisions, helping them to uncover their own decision-making preferences, the impact that that has on the culture of people around them. I'd like them to go away with my little mantra, which is joining the dots. So helping them to think about everything around, in a virtuous circle, if you will, rather than individual activities that may be disconnected or that are presented disconnected in a much more connected way. So an organization or anybody with responsibility for anything of this nature thinks, okay, if I've got one thing here, then it has to connect with this. Let us just say performance and reward mechanisms, for instance, helping them to think about that more. And I'm really keen for people to understand that this is not rocket science, or to feel comfortable that this isn't rocket science. There are many, many books that talk to us about empathy at work, talk to us about humanity at work. We have enough examples in retail in the United States where it's quite clear that the organization is not known for its empathy, and I'm sure that we'll be talking about various case studies and giving us examples of how a slippery slope can lead to something that actually is easy to stop.
Interesting. Now, one of the things I know that's going to be a topic of conversation is communications. What are some of the things that compliance and ethics professionals will be getting from this in terms of communication skills?
Yes. One of the Interestingly, as a compliance professional, as a communication professional, having come into this world, I've come in to help lawyers. I've come in to help ethics and compliance professionals. I've come in to help CEOs think about the way that they communicate. But again, much of it isn't rocket science. And we communicate always on a day-to-day basis. Think about the language that we use. Think about the way that we network in our own organisation. If a lawyer is saying, these are the rules, how am I going to engage my audience with them understanding that they really need to sit up and listen without hitting them over the head with a big stick? How to join dots, how to create narratives, how to bring personal experiences into the workplace in order to bring to life what ethics and compliance is all about. And I think probably finally is to try and get people not to use the word my ethics program. For as long as ethics is seen as an initiative and communicated as such, it will be much harder to get it embedded into the root and DNA of the organisation.
Interesting thought. Looking forward to having you join us. Your session will be on October 6th at the Compliance and Ethics Institute in Washington, D.C. And for all of you watching, I hope to see you there. Thank you, Jane, for joining us. Thank you for those watching. This is Adam Turteltaub from SECE saying, hoping to see you in Washington October 6th through 9th for the 2013 Compliance and Ethics Institute.
My pleasure, Adam. Thank you very much. Looking forward to a lively session.